Hey there, movie lovers. Welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're marching into the intense and unforgettable world of Stanley Kubrick's 1987 war masterpiece, Full Metal Jacket. This film, with its raw depiction of boot camp, the Vietnam War, and the psychological toll of combat, has left an indelible mark on cinema. But how much do you really know about what went on behind the scenes? So strap on your helmet, lock and load, and get ready for 20 things you never knew about Full Metal Jacket. The film is based on the 1979 novel The Short Timers by Gustav Hasford. The book was adapted for the screen by Hasford, Kubrick, and writer Michael Hare, though there were significant changes between the novel and the film. The movie is divided into two distinct parts: the island training scenes and the Vietnam sequences, whereas the book has three. The boot camp section is considerably longer in the film than in the novel, and Kubrick largely removed the third section, retaining only the sniper sequence. In the book, Hartman is called Geheim and is far less prominent than in the film. In the novel, Rafterman, Joker's sidekick in Vietnam, is killed. Hare explained that this was omitted from the film to allow the audience to speculate on Rafterman's development and what might have happened to him after the events of the movie. Another big difference is that the phrase Full Metal Jacket does not appear anywhere in the book on which the film is based. While Kubrick was reportedly fascinated by The Short Timers, he was hesitant to use the book's title for the movie, fearing that audiences might assume it referred to people who only worked half a day. He eventually came across the phrase Full Metal Jacket, which describes the casing of a bullet, in a gun catalogue. Kubrick initially offered the role of Joker to Anthony Michael Hall, but an 8-month dispute over money ultimately ended the collaboration. Hall later explained that he had wanted to be part of the film, but it simply did not work out. He also clarified that various rumours circulating at the time, such as him being fired on set or being upset with Kubrick for shooting too long, were entirely untrue. Val Kilmer may have accidentally helped Matthew Modine land the role of Private Joker. According to Modine, Kilmer confronted him in a Sunset Boulevard diner, glaring across the room before accusing him of stealing the part. At that point, Modine had no idea that Stanley Kubrick was auditioning actors, nor did he know he was even being considered. Curious and slightly alarmed by Kilmer's outburst, he contacted his manager and quickly arranged for footage from Vision Quest and Birdie to be sent to Kubrick. As it turned out, the director had barely been aware of Modine before seeing the material. So, in an ironic twist, Kilmer's burst of jealousy was the very thing that led Modine to the role of Private Joker. R. Lee Ermey, who portrayed Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, had once been the real thing, a former drill instructor with more than a decade of service in the US Marine Corps. He also spent 14 months in Vietnam. He originally joined the project as a technical advisor. Tim Colseri had initially been cast as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, but everything changed when Stanley Kubrick saw Emery's rehearsal tapes. Hours of embarking orders without breaking stride. Impressed by his authenticity, Kubrick handed Ermey the role. Unfortunately for Colseri, who had spent months training and rehearsing, he was resigned to a much smaller part as the helicopter door gunner. The score was composed by Kubrick's daughter, Vivian Kubrick, who worked under the pseudonym Abigail Mead, a nod to Abbott's Mead, the mansion where the Kubrick family had once lived. Vivian Kubrick also appears briefly in the film. In the Vietnam scene where Joker and Rafterman encounter a mass open grave, she can be seen in the background holding a camera and filming into the pit. One of the film's most shocking moments never made it to the screen. A scene in which Animal Mother brutally decapitates a sniper was cut. Adam Baldwin, who brought the fierce and unflinching Marine to life, was deeply disappointed by the decision. For him, the scene was pivotal in showcasing Animal Mother's raw, unapologetic nature and the extreme horrors of combat. Kubrick cut another particularly graphic scene from the film set around the time of the Stars and Stripes magazine interviews in Vietnam. The Marines appear to be playing football. However, as the camera pans out, it becomes clear they are actually kicking a human head. The scene was removed after the studio informed Kubrick that there was no way he could include it. Joker was originally intended to die. Initially, Full Metal Jacket was set to open with Joker's funeral in a flashback. Matthew Modine explained how he had inadvertently persuaded Stanley Kubrick to alter the ending of the film. During a creative discussion, Modine suggested that Joker should survive the movie. Kubrick asked him to justify his reasoning, and Modine explained, having witnessed the deaths of his friends and killed a teenager in battle, Joker should be forced to live with those experiences, as that would be far more harrowing than death itself, the true horror of war. Kubrick agreed and changed the ending of the film. One aspect that has been universally praised by critics is its bleak, brutal and harrowing depiction of battle. While it is impossible to portray the horrors of war with complete realism, the film comes remarkably close. This effect was achieved through innovative techniques by cinematographer Douglas Milsom. While filming the battle scenes, Milsom deliberately threw the camera's shutter out of sync to create a disorienting effect. The approach was later adopted to capture similarly brutal and disorienting battle sequences in Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis both turned down roles in the film. Schwarzenegger stated that he was too busy to play Animal Mother, a role that ultimately went to Adam Baldwin. Willis was offered a part just 2 days before he was due to begin shooting the first 6 episodes of Moonlighting, so he also had to decline. Denzel Washington had expressed interest in a role, but was put off by Kubrick's refusal to provide a script in advance for auditioning. Vincent D'Onofrio, who was working as a bouncer before this role, gained 70 to 80 pounds to portray Leonard Gomer Pyle Lawrence. Alongside the weight gain, he also shaved his head for the role and was reportedly surprised by the impact it had on him. D'Onofrio later said that it had changed his life, explaining that women often avoided looking at him and that people frequently repeated themselves, assuming he was unintelligent. The added weight also affected his mobility, leading to ligament damage in his knee during the obstacle course. Ali Ermi later remarked that he considered D'Onofrio's performance to be the finest in the film. Filming was delayed due to a near-fatal injury. Halfway through production late one night, Ali Ermi suffered multiple rib fractures on one side of his body in a car crash. His injury contributed to the extended shooting schedule, which lasted nearly a full year, from the 27th of August 1985 to the 8th of August 1986. A standoff occurred between Modine and Kubrick when the director insisted that Modine should not be present for the birth of his own son. When Kubrick argued that he would only get in the way of the doctors, Modine reportedly drew a pocket knife and threatened to cut his hand to secure permission to go to the hospital. And it worked, with Kubrick caving to Modine's demands. There were some significant challenges during production. During one of the Vietnam battle sequences, an explosion accidentally killed an entire family of rabbits. Being a devoted animal lover, Kubrick was so upset that he halted production for a day. On another occasion, while scouting locations with cinematographer Douglas Milsom, Kubrick was driving his wife's new SUV through the English countryside and crashed it into a 6-foot ditch. Milsom recalled that Kubrick did not even acknowledge the crash. He simply got out of the car and continued discussing the location as they walked home. Matthew Modine maintained a diary during filming to help him inhibit the mindset of a reporter, reflecting his character. Kubrick would occasionally instruct him to read entries aloud to the entire crew on set. In 2005, Modine published his Full Metal Jacket diary. It isn't just Vivian Kubrick who makes a cameo in the film, Stanley appears as well. In the sniper sequence, when Cowboy radios base to request backup and speaks to codename Hotel, the voice of Hotel is provided by Kubrick himself. Vivian Kubrick also filmed 18 hours of behind-the-scenes footage for a potential making-of documentary that went unmade, though some of her work can be seen in the documentary Stanley Kubrick's Boxes from 2008. The film was lauded by critics and earned notable award recognition, including an Academy Award nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay for Stanley Kubrick, Michael Herr, and Gustav Hasford. Also, R. Lee Ermey received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his unforgettable performance as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. There were, of course, no sequels to Full Metal Jacket, but one could have existed. Gustav Hasford wrote a follow-up to his novel The Short Timers, titled The Phantom Blooper, a novel of Vietnam, published in 1990. The story continues to follow Joker, who remains in Vietnam, haunted by the death of Cowboy and searching for the Phantom Blooper, an American soldier who has defected and is fighting alongside the Viet Cong, killing US Marines. Joker is eventually captured by the enemy and after spending a year with them is converted to their cause, ultimately taking up the mantle of the Phantom Blooper himself. Joker, the protagonist of Full Metal Jacket, was not merely a call sign, he had a real name, J.T. Davis. This detail grounds him in a sense of historical reality, linking the character to the broader context of the Vietnam War. In fact, specialist James T. Davis, whose initials mirror Joker's, holds the grim distinction of being the first officially recorded American battlefield casualty in Vietnam in 1961. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about Full Metal Jacket. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.